But before we begin, I want once again to thank my three colleagues who were very exciting today. Thank you so much for coming with us. And it's fabulous for our students because, as I say, each time we organize a summer school, instead of traveling the world we have 36 lectures. So instead of traveling the world to meet 36 scientists and spend, I would say, 5 or 10 years of their life and at a cost of a few $1,000,000, you only pay for a course and the scientists come to visit us. And another important point related to this is that, as I said to Lorenzo when I raised the hand, he said, I don't know whose question I should take. And I said, priority to the students. That's always our rule in our summer schools. So, Marianne, you're the boss this afternoon.
You can start, everybody. You can choose who.
And you can check on the web.
Checking on the web. I think I had a question earlier from Modson. It doesn't specify who was talking, but at around 10. Modson says, not well understood even by itself, runs together mechanistic opacity and unreliable introspection. Which one are you claiming, or what's your evidence for the introspective failure independent of the mechanistic one? I will check who was
This for me, and the question was, what's the evidence for the introspective failures?
Yes, independent of the mechanistic one.
Independent of the mechanistic.
If we don't remember it.
There's certainly some ways in which these AI models are quite good introspectively. So if you ask, how does the attention mechanism work? It'll give you a really terrific description of that. Not because it's introspecting, though, it's doing it because it's read some document that describes how that works. And so it's been trained on that. But what does human introspection involve? Well, it really relies on consciousness. You can sort of detect what your own conscious experience is. So how am I talking now? Well, I can think I'm generating these words and I'm experiencing doing that. I hear what I'm saying, but I'm also having these internal feelings. And contrary to people like Dawkins, I don't think there's any evidence at all that the AI systems currently have conscious experience. So they can't observe their conscious experience, so they can't do introspection of that sort. So that's the main reason for thinking that introspection isn't something that they can do. That could change, I suppose, but I don't think it's likely, because I think that the conscious experiences that people have is very much tied in with our representations that involve internal bodily things as well. So until they've got bodies like us, and no one has any reason to build one, I don't think that the AI systems will have consciousness, so they won't have introspection.
Okay, so to add to that question, if it's not introspection, how do you interpret the in performance improvement that can occur with something like chain of thought reasoning?
That's actually really interesting. I asked what AI model, what's the difference? Because then they come in different modes. And so there was the old sort of quick mode where they were basically doing just what fell out of the neural network. But a few years ago, they started going to what they called thinking, which is a bit of an extension, and taking more time to answer. And how that works isn't exactly clear. There's a couple of answers that it will give you. One is that it's simply taking more time and generating alternative answers and then choosing the best one. So that's one possibility. But I don't know whether this was sycophancy or whether this was accurate. One of the conversations I had with ChatGPT asking it how it does things in thinking mode, it said it does more constraint satisfaction then. So it does more coherence of this sort because it's taking more time to consider different possibilities and picking the most coherent one. Now, I honestly don't know whether it's doing that just to suck up to me or whether that is actually true, but it's a possibility that, in fact, that's consistent with the first explanation where it's generating a number of possibilities and then evaluating the best, which it's got the time to do because it's incredibly fast. I mean, human neurons operate at about 100 firings per second. So we got 86 billions of them, but so that gives us a lot of speed. But 100 times a second, the NVIDIA chips operate at quadrillions of actions per second, quadrillions. And so the speed of these systems that now can have 200,000 NVIDIA chips operating each of them at quadrillions of time per second is just absolutely astonishing. So that's why they can manage to do these very complicated type of reasoning in a matter of seconds. But it also allows them to consider different possibilities and essentially fake introspection when in fact they're just relying on all of the huge numbers of sources that they've read.
I think he was first.
Well, understand it well, you said that introspection and inspection. Introspection needs.
A little louder, please.
Introspection needs some kind of a phenomenal experience to be to just exist in some way. It cannot be like just a chain of proposition that the AI system is just like I would say like reasoning on it. For example, it says like, I'm gonna do that, then I'm gonna do that, and if I do that,
Well, I was using introspection in the sense of applied to humans, where we're using our conscious experience of our conscious experience. But in that case, you're describing, I suppose it could do something like, well, I'll generate my thinking chain, and then I'll step back and look and see what I did. It could do that. Yeah, that would be a sort of observation. I don't think they're set up to do that yet, but that wouldn't be hard to implement.
it would be introspection.
Well, no, it would be a kind of self-observation. They can already do self-observation. And they certainly show lots of self-awareness. You can ask these systems about themselves and they'll give you really good answers.
Yeah.
But what are they based on? They're not based on, oh, I had the experience yesterday of doing that. It's based on reading all the documents of that. And I guess they could probably also sort of look at. I'm sorry. It didn't like what I said. I guess.
Again.
Yeah. So you could do that, but I think that would be really different from human introspection.
Yeah.
Your example with GLP-1 agonists, like in that example, they're backed up by like heavy human-made scientific literature. But for my understanding, it seems like AI is making more and more of its own like sources. So my question, I guess, is how do you see it evolving in the future as more and more of AI makes its own like information? It's the open question to about.
Oh, that's really both fascinating intellectually and also really scary. So there are at least two companies now dedicated to recursive self-improvement. What this idea is that the AI will no longer just be tough to train on all the stuff that's on the internet. Their job will be to make themselves better by thinking about what they want to do. And there are already a couple of concrete cases where something like this has happened. I mentioned how companies all over the world now don't have people writing code anymore because the systems like OpenAI's Codex and Anthropic's Claude Code are better than human programmers and way faster. How did those two systems get built? They were both built by reflecting on what they did. And so Codex contributed to the improvement of Codex for OpenAI's programming machine, and Claude Code contributed to, so it's already happening in a small scale, and it's going to be happening on a bigger scale where their systems are going to get better, not because humans have figured out how to make them better, but because the systems themselves have figured out how to make themselves better. Where that goes, nobody knows. But intellectually and scientifically, this is fascinating. Ethically, I think it's terrifying. But it's coming, and it's coming very soon. And at that point, we're going to have systems that we don't understand very much at all, even less than we do now. And so that's why I think that government regulation is so crucially needed to try to get these things under control. But that's the ethical question. But the epistemological question, and also a metaphysical question of what kinds of thinking beings are being created is just really wide open. And all this is happening really fast.